Okay, in this lecture we are going to talk how to set up our Android environment. So first of all we go, as we said, to the documentation, and then we go to Mac OS and then Android. And in Android there is a tool which is called a Brew or Homebrew, which is helping for installation of application or some tools easily to your Mac system. So if you didn't install Homebrew, it's better to install it. It will help you to install a lot of applications without bothering yourself to find the installation for it. So for that, for example, I want to install Node as I showed you previously. I just go to my terminal and I run brew install Node, as I told you previously. So if you go here, you will see that brew install Node, and also there is another tool which is called Watchman. This is very great tool. It's made by Facebook. It's going to watch your changes on your file system, and it's highly recommended because it's better performance for your application and watching the updates on the files. So let's try to install this, because before we installed already Node as I showed you manually without brew. But now I am going to install this with a brew. So after installation of Homebrew, it's exactly the same. You just copy the command to the terminal and you will have Homebrew. After that, you will be able to use the command brew, so you can install any program which is available in that package. So let's try, for example, to install Watchman. So I will go to the terminal and then I will paste brew install Watchman. And then we will wait for installation, and we will see that it's installing all the program for me, including the paths, including all the information which are needed for development to use this tool. Okay, as you see, the installation have been done. So I was like skipping the video because it takes some time. So now it's installed. Let's go to the documentation again and see what we have here. So as well, we need for that a Java development kit. This is required for Android systems, so we need also to install that. So the same thing, we are going to copy this command which is called brew install, and then we can see open JDK, which is required for that. And they said if you have already installed JDK on your system, just make sure that you have JDK 8 or newer. So you have to be sure that you have version 8. But let's install that with also Homebrew. So I will paste this command again and wait for the installation, as we saw previously with the Watchman. Sometimes when you need some privilege for administrator, it's asking you for password. So you just need to put the password for your Mac system, and then it will be installed easily for your machine. So as you see here that it's successfully installed. So we go again to the next step. So we have here after that installation of Android Studio. Android Studio, we are not going to use it as editor, but we need the SDK from it. We need SDK platform, and also virtual device, because we need also to see our changes of the application. Like as any application you run it on Android, we need to see our changes on some phone, some virtual phone. So it's better to install Android SDK. And also the SDK is required as a modules part of React Native, because as we said, React Native is using the modules which are available in Android projects and iOS, as we explained previously. So first of all, we need to install and download Android Studio. So to install Android Studio, it's also the same process. We need to download Android Studio. It's available as well for all operating systems, like for example Windows and also Linux and also Chrome OS, for all operating systems. So it's better to choose the one which is suitable for your system, and then you download it. And the installation process is very easily. You just go next, and then it will be installed on your machine, and we are going to run the Android Studio, and we have to specify some options as I will show you. So as you see here, I have the download button. It takes about 900 megabytes, and after that you install it and then run the application. I have it installed already on my operating system, and when you run Android Studio, you will see this window, like you will need to create a new project, a new Flutter project, or you want as well to some other types of projects. What we need to do here to go to configure, and here we are going to work as the instructions of setting up the development using React Native. So let's go there. As you see here, it says like install the Android SDK. So after you see this window, we need to click on configure and then SDK manager. And SDK manager is always updated here. You have always to follow the versions which are available here. So it's better to install them exactly how they are described here. Always. So when you see different version in the documentation than this video, you have to follow the documentation as well. So I go to the configure, I go to SDK manager, and then we have to check that we have Android 10Q. So we need to install this one, as you see here. So first we need to have Android 10Q. Of course, you can as well check out the default installed one, because when you install Android Studio, it comes by default with this one. So it's better to follow the documentation and say Android 10Q. Okay, what else? It says that you need to make sure the following items are checked. So we need to expand this Android 10 and we check Android SDK platform. So how we can do that? You go again to this window and then you say show package detail. So when we click on show package detail, we will see more details about this. So it says to us, make sure that Android SDK platform 29 is available or checked. And also, as you see here, we have something else, which is Intel x86 Atom 64 system image. So we need also to check that one. You see, it's by default is not checked. So we need to check that as well. So it's important to check show package detail. You will be able to see all the detail of the package. As well, there is something else we need to be sure of, that Google API Intel x86 Atom system, we have also to check that as well. So when we go here, so we have this one. So it's very important to follow the documentation. Next, it says that select the SDK tools and check the box show package detail as well, and expand Android SDK build tools. So let's do that. So we go here and then we go to SDK tools, and then we go here and again we say check packages, like as we see, show detail of the package, and then we will see like some version. Let's say which version it says that we need to select. Make sure that you have 2902. So we have to go here and we check 2902. You have to be sure that you install this package as well. Of course, you have freedom to keep all of this, or you can remove them based on the space which is available on your machine. After that, we have selected everything. As you see here, we click on apply. So we selected everything as documentation. We click on apply and it's going to install the things which we have selected. Installed, our estimation is 2 GB. So you have to make sure that you have really the space, because they are big, and you have to be sure that everything is installed properly, because it will take about 8 GB. So we click OK and it's going to download all the things. I am going to fast this video for you to not take so much time. Okay, the installation now successful, and as you see here, we have Android 10 as requirement is installed, and also the SDK tools as we saw previously. If we go to show packages, we make sure that everything got installed as described in the documentation. Okay, we click OK, we go away from Android Studio, and then we go to the next step where it's written configure Android home environment variable, and in Mac you do it differently from Windows. So we need to make sure that Android commands are working fine on my machine. So depends on the type of your terminal. I am now talking about Mac. Okay, so if you want to see Windows, you can skip a little bit the video I will show you on Windows. So first, for Mac, you need to go add the following lines to your this home bash profile, and here we need to edit this file and add those lines. So first of all, we need to make sure that we have really installed Android SDK on this path. So how we can do that? First, you go to the Finder in Mac, and then you click Go, and then you will see here Library. So when you click on Library, it will open for you the library on Finder. So you can find it here, and you will go and see that there is Android folder, and inside this Android folder there is SDK. So here what we need to have. So we make sure that we have really this path: Home, Library, Android, SDK. Okay. So that's all nice. So we have now two types of terminals in Mac. So as you see here, I am using the one which is prefixed with ZSH. So this one is my terminal which I am using for my applications. So you can do the both steps which I am going to do now, so to make sure that all your terminals works fine. So first I will edit home.bash profile. So how we can do that? I will open the terminal again, and as you see, I tried previously, I have a command which is called sudo nano and then edit some file. So I am going to put this command again. So why I have sudo? I have sudo because I need permissions for that. You cannot edit this file without privilege. Nano is editor, which is internally installed on Mac system or terminals, so you can edit files through it. So you can say sudo nano as we say here, and it will open the file for you, and then you need to export and copy and paste what is written in the documentation. So let's copy all of this as we see here, and then go back to the terminal again and paste them here. Okay, nice, we have all of them. After that you need to quit, you need to exit. So here there are some shortcuts. You need to say that we need Control X. So you need to press Control X in Mac, and it will offer you that save modify buffer. So you can say yes, I want to save them. So after that, file name to write, so it will ask you overwrite this, so you just press enter and it will be saved. To be sure that you have all the edits done, you just open the command again, you will see that all of them already done. So I go again, I Control X, I go back to the command line or command terminal. I go to the next command where I am using ZSH editor, so we can then edit this file. So you go to the terminal and exactly the same sudo nano and the same, and then you paste this and it will open for you again some editor. You can export also the paths which are required here. So again we need to copy all of those commands and go to the terminal, and then we paste those. We can say here you can paste them under it, and then you press save, or you can say Control X to save it exactly how we did previously. Okay, overwrite the data and everything is saved fine. So to make sure that our command line is accepting that, you can just need to run this command which is called echo android home. So we go again to the terminal and then we paste this command, and you will see that we got empty. This is because you need to restart the terminal to see the changes which are done on your terminal. Otherwise, if it still doesn't work, you need to check again this zip profile as we saw previously, and make sure if you have export path at the end. So previously, as you see here, I made it was like here. So this export path was here. So I just move it down to be at the end, to the last. So in that case, we can export all the passes which are defined here. So just make sure this is like troubleshooting you can do, so you can make sure that your terminal is working. So I'm going to close this terminal and open it again to see if I am really able to see Android home path. So we close it, open the terminal again. I will make a zoom. So I will paste the command echo android home. Nice, as you see, I have it now, the path, like I am copying or printing the command or the path which is like saved in my command file, which is for ZSH. So here, as you see, that everything is working fine, so we are sure that our paths are set right here. So it's written here that you can make sure that everything is working fine. So after that, there is React Native command line interface. We will see this step after we finish as well for iOS. So I will keep this step for now. For Windows, if I go to the Windows, setting the paths is very easy. Go to environment variables which are set in Windows, and it's all explained here. So you just go to the control panel and then user accounts, and then user accounts again, change my environment variable, and you need to add the path which is installed on your machine for Android SDK. Normally it comes from users, and then your username comes here, and then app data local Android SDK. That's it. and you need then to make sure that all paths are set fine. So you need to open PowerShell or command line, copy and paste git child item env, and then verify that Android Home is added. It's exactly like how we make sure that we have Android Home variable is set. So this is the way how we set up the Android environment for Windows and Mac. Next, we are going to explain about iOS. And after that, unfortunately, as I told you that iOS is only available on Mac, so I am going to explain it only on Mac. We will not have explanation for Windows. So Mac OS and also the iOS system, which will be in the next lecture. And after that, we will start our React Native or first React Native application.